Everyone, I'd like to call this meeting of Community and Health Services Committee meeting to order and welcome you to it this afternoon. Today we're going to, on the agenda, be hearing from staff on the rent framework for Waterloo Regional Housing Community Space, also on youth impact and public art advisory committee. And because we're running a wee bit ahead of schedule, there's a couple or one person I think that is not here yet that was planning on to be here, so hopefully that will work out. I'm going to ask Julie Hale, committee clerk, to conduct the roll call.
Regional Chair Redmond.
Present.
Councillor Craig.
Present.
Councillor Deutschman. Here. Chair Erb.
Here.
Councillor Foxton.
Present.
Councillor Harris. Councillor Hunick.
Present.
Councillor James. Councillor Liggett.
Present.
Councillor James, are you online with us?
I am online. I'm just remote, but I'm listening.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McCabe. Councillor Nowak. Councillor Salonen. Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Councillor Burbanovich.
Present.
Councillor Williams.
Present.
Councillor Wolf.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. As we begin this meeting, we are again reminded that many of our homes and places of employment in Waterloo Region are situated on the land that is a traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe and Shawneetown peoples. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to Waterloo Region, and we also recognize the contributions Indigenous peoples have made in shaping and strengthening this community. We are grateful for the opportunity to live and work here and reaffirm our collective commitment to keep the promise and the challenge of truth and reconciliation real and intentional in our community. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? There being none, we have no presentations, no delegations. On the consent agenda item, we have one item, 6.1. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Nowak. Use your e-scribe buttons to indicate your support, please. Councillor James and Councillor Liggett. Are you in favor? Councillor Liggett?
I voted.
Okay, Councillor James?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Thank you. That's carried. On to the regular agenda 7.1, rent framework for the Waterloo Regional Housing Community Services, and a call on Mr. Sweeney to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair Erb. I'm actually going to pass the baton to my colleagues Kellyanne and Amy Osika to deliver the report and answer questions on behalf of Council today, on behalf of staff, I mean. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Regional Council, for having us today. Introduction to Amy Osika, the manager of Waterloo Regional Housing, who will also be here to answer questions as well. So Waterloo Regional Housing is a robust community that has over 2,800 units where individuals and family call home. For years, WRH has partnered with many community agencies which we provide space in our WRH units and communities at large. These agencies bring much-needed supports, services, and programs to our tenants and the surrounding communities. Programs such as food assistance, youth activities as homework clubs, recreation programs, and programs and activities for seniors. Establishing a rent framework allows greater transparency and sustainability as we work with our existing partners, strengthening these relationships, but also allows us to build and expand new partnerships with community agencies that we may not have partnered with before. Improving quality of life for tenants and the broader community, exploring new partnerships and offering culturally appropriate services and supports for our tenants and the community, financial sustainability for Waterloo Regional Housing, and strengthening our current agency partnerships that our communities rely on are just a few of the benefits we are highlighting today in the report. Supporting staff's recommendations not only links to strategic priority 1, Homes for All, but it allows us to really build on priority 3, equitable services and opportunities that meet local community needs through community collaboration. Whether it's our existing building spaces and units or our new development spaces as part of the WRH plan, community benefits and partnerships are essential to building thriving and inclusive communities, and that's what we're doing in Waterloo Regional Housing. So thank you. We'll open the floor to questions. Myself and Amy are here to answer.
Thanks, Kellyanne. Are there any questions on to the delegation or to the report? Councilor Urbanovic.
Thank you, Chair Erb. Just thanks to staff for the report. I just want to understand, like I read through the report, I looked at the financial implications in terms of the direction where want to go and the framework in Appendix A. Then I see Appendix B, which I'm guessing is the current locations, all of which or most of which have tenants, and that's the rent and utility arrangements that we have with them. What I don't see is what that would change to, so that we understand what the potential impact to those organizations is. Or am I missing something?
So thank you for the chair, or thank you for the question and through the chair. Right now, currently, we're not charging those agencies anything. With the new rent framework that we're looking for approval with today, we would be charging those community agencies part of the charges through utilities, including rent. So I think that was your question, Councilor Urbanovic.
So the amounts that are in Appendix B, is that what you're proposing you would charge them?
No, I'm sorry about that. No, that's what the current market rate is right now. That's the $15 to $19 a square foot.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, that's square feet, not rent.
Yeah.
And so right now we're not charging anything and to these organizations, but we're looking to start charging them?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So do we have a list of what those organizations are and what those costs will be for them going forward?
Yes.
Because I guess what I'm trying to get at is, could this potentially impact their ongoing viability, or are they just going to come to ask for grants from us?
So through the chair, I think the response to that is we have actually met with all of the community agencies that we're currently partnering with. So they actually are aware of the rent framework that was coming to council today for approval and realize that we may be starting to charge rent. The pieces on that is we are really looking to negotiate with these agencies to develop rent that's feasible and sustainable for those agencies as well. We're not looking to gouge any of the nonprofits or community partners at all with rent, but we have been working with many of these agencies for a long period of time and charging nothing. So the opportunity to build some sustainability for WRH and invest that money back into our communities is really what we're trying to do.
Yep, no, and like I understand the approach and the rationale. I guess what would have been helpful for me and what I would ask to come back to council as information prior, it can come in an email prior to when this comes to council in 2 weeks, is who the list of organizations are at each of these locations and what we anticipate the charges will now be going forward. Approximately, because we obviously have an idea of what we're spending on utilities already, what we're thinking in terms of rent and so on.
So thank you through the chair. This was something that we wanted to do in negotiations with those agencies themselves. So we wanted staff to work with the agencies to look at their financial sustainability plans and come up with a rent framework for them. So I would just say in 2 weeks, we wouldn't be able to do that in terms of meeting with all community agencies. We really want to sit down and understand some of the factors in terms of how we would charge the rent and what would that look like. Your other question was, we do have a list of community agencies certainly that we can provide though.
Yeah, but so I guess, notwithstanding, and it can be, I understand that this is a matter of negotiation, so it can be provided on a confidential basis to council. Staff obviously have some idea in mind of what they're striving for, and so on. And so I think it would be helpful for us to understand, who those organizations are, where they're operating, and approximately what those costs are going to be before we, make a final decision on this. So I'm prepared to support it today, but I would like that information before I would support it at council on in 2 weeks.
Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you. What I might suggest is if you can give us a couple of days to circle back, what we might be able to do is provide more of a macro level of the total financial impact that we're trying to mitigate. That might be partially spread across or impacted by the totality as opposed to an individual by individual, case by case, if that would be sufficient for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I guess, Mr. Sweeney, what I'm not trying to understand it fully from the financial impact to us. I'm trying to understand the financial impact to them and those organizations and their viability. And that's why I think it's important that we have an understanding of what staff's thinking is around this, so that, quite frankly, we're not getting people coming to us after the fact. And the answer was, well, council voted for this. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm not prepared to give it a final thumbs up on I'm just being very clear on that on council day. I'm willing to support it today without that information.
Okay, fair enough. We'll get you something and then we'll take it from there. We'll give us a couple of days if you could.
Yep, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Councillor Liggett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question has to do with the background info for the 20-year timeline. And I think from that 20-year timeline, that was in 2019, are we still only looking at creating 600 new units? And is that over 10 years or 20 years? Because you've got both number of years in there. So on page 9 of the agenda, which is page 2 of the report, under background, item number 1, it says revitalize by creating at least 600 new units. Is that all we're looking at creating?
Kellyanne?
Thanks, Councillor Liggett, and through the chair. So those 600 units were the trajectory for the next 10 years in Waterloo Regional Housing, specifically on our redevelopment projects. The 20-year WRH plan involves multiple partners and developments as part of the Building Better Futures framework as well. So specifically speaking, the 600 units were the redevelopments of the sites under WRH.
Okay, so can I ask a follow-up, please, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So that's just by creating, but you're saying revitalize now. So are we looking putting more than 600 in? Because when I look at that 600, where I'm going here is that's nowhere near enough. I mean, we get that many people added to a waiting list in 6 months, I think. So what are we doing to get ahead of this? Is there something else here that's not in this report?
So through the chair, thank you for that question. So those 600 units were specifically on the Waterloo Regional Housing site that we are looking to redevelop. And so those were only based on what our current Waterloo Regional Housing communities had available to us as we look through the Waterloo Regional Housing plan. We will definitely be doing more than that under the Building Better Futures and also under the Building Better Futures 2.0. Those 600 were just exactly for Waterloo Regional Housing. And wherever we get the opportunities to build and redevelop more on Waterloo Regional Housing lands, we will certainly do that. But your question remaining based on the 10-year plan that we have set out, those were the number of units, yes.
Okay, it's just as long as we're not sitting on that. Like I just see this as not getting anywhere, and I know we're hoping for future additions. It just to me, I know everybody's working hard to try to affect change here. It just to me, it's just I don't know what to do to increase housing so through the region. So thank you though.
Thank you.
So am I correct? Like the 600 includes what has been coming to council for the redevelopment of Kings Court, of Shelley. So it's specifically the units that are in the Waterloo Regional Housing portfolio currently, which I think is what, 2,600 units or something like that we're doing. And then so adding another 600 to that. And then beyond that is what we're strategizing in the Building Better Futures, building 500 a year over the 5-year period for 2,500, I think.
Correct. Thanks, Councillor Erb. Yeah, that would be 82 Wilson, 416 Kings Court, as you pointed out, Langs. So really some good opportunities there, yes.
Councillor Hunick.
Sorry, Chair, but I just think I have something that might help Councillor Liggett, which is that not all affordable housing comes from WRH. We're only one piece of the puzzle, but we're a pretty big piece. And I'm glad we're growing by 600 units in 10 years.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there someone prepared to move and a seconder for this? Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Hunick. Please use your e-scribe buttons to indicate your support. Councillor Harris is there now. Councillor James?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. That's carried. Okay, on to item 7.2, the Youth Impact Project. Mr. Sweeney is going to introduce that, I think, and Allison Pearson and a colleague are here.
Thank you. This is a complete team effort across many departments and divisions across the region of Waterloo, and in Rod's absence, I'm happy to introduce Allison and Jameeks. Take it away.
Good afternoon. Great to see you all. Allison Pearson, manager with the Children and Youth Planning Table here, and I have Jameeks Beckford, who is the play lead with Smart Waterloo Region Innovation Lab. We have a few slides to share with you today about the Youth Impact Project, and I'm mostly excited for you to hear firsthand from Jameeks, who's part of the team that's leading this right on the ground. But I will say how fitting it is for us to be here. This is National Youth Week, and so it's great to be together celebrating this wonderful initiative that the region of Waterloo is supporting in our community. So I'll hand it over to Jameeks.
Hi, Chair. Hello, everybody. Really excited to talk to you guys about the Youth Impact Project. This is a project that SWIRL, Smart Waterloo Region Innovation Lab, and CYPT have been working together on since the end of last year. We wanted to combine the two skills. One, in the lab, Innovation Lab, we've been doing a lot of work with youth empowerment, getting them to take lead in projects, a lot of work around innovation and training and support. We've been doing through a curriculum program at the schools. The CYPT has been doing incredible work with the organizations within the region, starting to create a network for youth to be able to do a little bit more. And we've been working together on a project called the Youth Impact and Action Youth Summit that we've been running regularly over the last 2 years, with over 100 youth from community organizations talking about the challenges they see in the community. And from that has come the Youth Impact Project. So one of the things we looked at with this impact project was that we were doing it with the schools is going really well, but only certain youth were really getting to access it in certain schools, and we wanted to be able to connect this with youth all over the community. We thought a great way of doing that is by going to the places where youth are connecting. That is those community organizations, some of the ones that were just being talked about through housing, and then other ones throughout the community that are engaged in working with youth. The concept around the Youth Impact Project is really simple. We're looking for a holistic approach to supporting youth. So we ran training sessions for those youth staff and for staff from those organizations, and developed a training framework that we can run through with them. They can coach their youth to go through, all culminating in a month from now when we have the Impact in Action pitch night, where these youth will be pitching their ideas to a group of youth that have been trained to make decisions, and will be equally moving those funds around and through the region. If we want to click to the next slide, perfect. Yeah, so this kind of gives you an idea, and this shows an example of some of the trainings we've run. So we are working with some of those organizations. Langs was mentioned, the YMCA, KW Multicultural, SCAR. We work with organizations around the region that are working with these very specific groups of youth, and working through what the training can look like, how we can fit this into their organization, and how we can build out the plan. They've been coaching through what is basically a 4 to 6 week session in innovation, taking you through the Inspire phase, which is how you get people excited about the ideas and looking at the challenge, the Create phase, which is how you get youth interviewing people in their community and really diving into the problem, and the Show phase, which is where they'll present and kind of give a little bit more. I'll talk about those in the next slide. Yeah, so this is the training. So in the Inspire phase, we brought in the youth organizations. They came into the office. We talked about challenge. The beauty of this is we got to sit down and look at very specific and different challenges from different people in different organizations. And it allowed us to keep the program really flexible so that it can work for some and work in different ways for others. We had a great feedback from this as they were starting to engage with each other, and some networking was actually happening through these organizations. So some of these organizations are working together on other projects as well. But that was a big first piece. The next piece is the pitch delivery. This is the phase that we're in right now. So these staff have gone back to their organizations. Youth with this program and other youth in the community are working on projects and challenges. They're taking the Youth Impact Survey information, so the data that they've heard about challenges in the community, directly linking it to challenges they see, and putting together these pitches through the boxes and through some of the information. We're giving them all the all the skills and tips, I put those two words together, to develop and to put together really robust and really great presentations. And then pitch selection. So the pitch selection, we really wanted this to be a co-created experience, and we wanted youth at every phase. We often get in a space where youth do all this great work and we make the decisions, but we don't know what they're going to enjoy and what's really going to connect for them. So the youth connectors with the CYPT have been working through trainings with us. They've worked through a selection basis. I believe they have selected their 9 to 11 judges. And over the next month, we'll be working on some equity training and lessons around how we look to do this, and our plan to make sure that the money is as distributed as possible and is connecting with as many different distinct groups as we can. And then the implementation of ideas. Essentially, from when the pitches are chosen, the funding, we're looking by the end to get released sometime in the summer, and the hope and what we're asking is that from June to December, a lot of the groups will be working on their projects. They will have the back support of the organizations, which is one of the major challenges we had with the high schools, in that we had to have somebody to support them on the back end. They have the support of the organizations. The funding will move through those organizations to directly create more impactful programming for the kids in their neighborhoods, and they'll be developing really cool ideas. We've got to hear, I've heard some tidbits of some. I had a check-in meeting with a group at the Y of newcomers that want to skill up and learn more training around camps. The Y runs a bunch of great camps, and they're already in conversations to set up a newcomer experience camp where they go to a bunch of different camps and try out stuff like that. Really incredible ideas are coming out of this, and it's all just based on giving the youth the front and those ideas. And then data in action, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Thanks, Jameeks. I know it's a lot to take in. I hope that you're feeling the excitement that we are, and the report captures more of it. But you know about the Youth Impact Survey, you know about data in action. So this is a building on of those pieces of work that's already taken a foothold in our community. And the data in action, of course, is the 63 ideas that young people hope to see for change in our community. And it's bringing to light an opportunity for young people to drive the change to those actions. It's also a project that responds to those calls. So it responds to 6 calls that young people have said about the ways they want to be more involved in decision making. They want more intergenerational opportunities to work together with young people and adults together. And in our final slide here, we'll just throw up the timeline here, which is also an appendix to the report. We are coming up to June, which is the culmination, and June 8th is the big pitch event. So you will all receive an invitation to this. I hope you will be able to join us as the young people alongside their community organizations will be pitching their ideas. And we'll all be celebrating together as we watch this unfold into a new chapter of youth-led decision-making in our community. And we thank you so much for your time and your support of this exciting piece of work. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Allison and Jay Meeks. It's hard to imagine that the enthusiasm would not filter down to the youth with the enthusiasm that you bring to the presentation. Thank you. Yeah, we have 3 or 4 questions. Councillor Junek.
Thank you so much for the presentation through you, Chair. I'm really excited about this initiative. I think it's going to drive a lot of empowerment and innovation, and it's just going to be so great. And I'm really excited that we get to come to the pitch. I'll be there for sure. I'm just wondering, I don't know about the promotional side of this opportunity, and I'm wondering how in the future we can let more youth know about it.
Yes, excellent. And through the chair, thank you very much for that question. That's one of the things that we're working on, and we're trying to gauge both the equity phase of it and then that open so that everybody can engage in it. Because we're running this as a small pilot and we wanted to make sure it had the ability to run through those communities, we connected with a lot of local organizations to start. As this is a plan that we hope to keep building and growing, the hope would be that the information comes out earlier and the design time is a little bit more extensive for those groups so that more groups can interact with it. But that is a great point. Thank you.
Perfect. When you have that for the coming year, send us all the communications package and we can promote as well. Thanks.
Oh, will do. Thank you.
Councillor Wolf.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for your presentation, and this is amazing. I'm sort of big on geographical equity for Cambridge, so I just wonder, are you in Cambridge, and are some of the people on your decision-making team from Cambridge?
And through the chair, I can answer that question. Our Impact in Action event that had over 100 youth had over 50 from Cambridge. One of the most active members of the CYP team is a Cambridge member, so they're very active in connecting. And 3 of the organizations, Langs, Kinbridge, and I believe another one connected to Langs, it could be Grow or Preston Heights, have boxes that are out. So there's at least 5 projects that will be centered in Cambridge or from youth in Cambridge.
Thank you, because the neighborhood associations are also good.
Yeah, the CNOs are incredible. They got invites out, and the ones that had responded, the 2 that had responded were those 2 when we sent the in. But I think all or almost all of the members of the CNO got the.
And as a good activity for adults and youth, Cambridge just opened up in the Cambridge Center, Cake Speed 1 carts. So go-karts, electric, a great activity for mother and daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Councillor Foxton.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Are you in the townships?
Yes, through the chair, we are. So we connected with townships. We're doing a lot of work with them. So last summer, we did, our engagement plan was all about townships. We did, I think it was 12 youth game shows out in the townships. Wellesley and Wilmont, we've had a lot of deep connection with. We've had conversations with Rural Engage, and we are working with Langs as well in North Dumfries. But I believe it is Wilmont and Wellesley. They have a member of the staff team that does youth engagement for the 2 was at our our training sessions as well. So
Excellent, excellent. One last question, and I don't know if you already told everybody. What's in the box?
So the box is what the youth teams receive. So a base of what's in the box is the breakdown of the training that we did. So there'll be a USB key that is in there. It has an evaluation manual. So manual we put together where youth can write through their journey so we can capture those stories and be sure to share the stories with everybody. It has a innovation walkthrough guide. So basically, what's the Inspire phase? What is it about? How do you connect? As well as some activities that are in there. United Way is a sponsored support of this. So they've actually put together, we have a little United Way wallet that's in there. And there'll be gift cards that are connected. So youth get their presentation boards taken care of. They'll have food funding. So they've gotten a food card to be able to get snacks for their team meetings. And then there are 2 other pieces in there around evaluations. So if they do the evaluations, we get them some pitch swag that they can give out at the event, so some stuff like that. But the boxes, basically what we wanted is, we didn't want everything to live online. We wanted them to have something that they could kind of pull, shelf. I was in those youth programs where like we'd show up on a Thursday, so having something we can kind of pull out and kind of take apart and work with is something we wanted for all of them in there. So it's got a little bit of everything in there, but yeah.
Well, that's excellent. So I expect all the ones that got a box to fill them out and bring them back to next council with the information. Joe, fill out your box.
Chair Redden.
Thank you, Chair Erb. You know, it's too bad you're not more enthusiastic. This is wonderful to see, and I see that Grace and Bass has also joined us, and I have to say that it's probably, we should circle this date on the calendar. We're never ahead of schedule on a committee day. The 3 things that have really impressed me from our original Smart Cities competition that we did with the federal government, and Councillor Shantz and I were there, to be disappointed that we didn't win, but this is an incredible legacy. And you've sort of covered off the things that I wanted to touch on, and that was that it's youth-driven. The fact that it represents a diversity of our community in every corner of this region, and that's been like that for years, so that's not new. It's very exciting. Can you talk just a little bit, and I appreciate the box and that it's tactile, and it's not all tech, but I know we partnered with Tech for Good, and I know that artificial intelligence is a conversation that's happening in a whole lot of circles. Can you just talk about the interplay between tech, because it seems to me that was one of the keys to really engaging the youth?
Thank you, and through the chair, I can speak a little bit about some of the, so a lot of the stuff that we've done, one of the first Inspire tools is about youth. We call them graffiti walls. What are the problems that you see in the community? How do you combat them? And the youth are writing these ideas down with markers and pens. We want them to engage in it and not be setting and typing. Some of the cool things that we've worked through technology and through Saba, our data team lead, the things that she's been able to, we do that now, and then we use AI that will read through and organize those lists. So we're really engaging in conversation and using technology, as youth are very strong in technology, and we often aren't using it because we're not as strong. We're engaging with them at all times, trying to bring that into and use these great tools like AI that do great things and cause challenges as well, but tools that can make a lot of that busy work really fast. We want to engage it, be able to collect more clear and accurate information, and be able to use that to combat the problems that we're seeing in the community. The youth are already ready for those things. It's really us getting on board and engaging with them. So like Saba's not here to speak about some of the great things that we are doing with tech, but things from web scraping and making sure information is clear for organizations. So like information, these small organizations, it's hard to update, but tools like web scraping will update information if they've changed over. A lot of those kind of pieces are stuff we're really diving into at the lab, and we've been engaging in those pieces. So we want the box to be able to live without, but the toolkit is online. The youth are still engaging with those online tools and acting with them. And we know that we can also support the youth that might not have internet at home, like I did when I was a kid growing up in Cortland Shelley. Woo, I heard that. And those kind of, and those pieces as well.
And if I just, Allison, you've been here since the ground floor. It's just exciting to see that the youth are the ones driving these initiatives still.
Through you, Chair, I agree. We have legacy is a great word to use of all the community rallying that we did together in 2018, 2019, the pre-pandemic phase of life. But we've continued to keep going, and I'll add that you'll have to come to the June 8th event and see how the young people are integrating tech into their ideas that they're pitching.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Interesting reading this. Thank you for your presentation. You talk about community youth from community organizations. How are you reaching the other kids who may not be part of a community organization? So who are in the board system but could have great input?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So this is our pilot year right now as we're building out this model. Jamik's mentioned it's built on the success that has been experienced through the Jimmy Impact work, which is a school-based model. So some young people in our community have engaged through those channels. This one is a next tier, let's say, to that opportunity where we are seeking young people to partner with organizations. Now, sometimes the young people in organizations are not previously partnered. In some cases they are, but in other cases it's the organizations putting out a call to community to say, if you would like to come be involved in this project with us, you're welcome and here's the steps. So for this pilot year, we have some people that had a previous relationship, some young people, the previous relationship to organizations, and some who have now developed a relationship to community organizations.
So how are you going to involve this? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And just to kind of continue on so one element is that youth, if there's a youth group that's out there, they would need to connect with it for right now. They need to connect with somebody for support, but that relationship doesn't have to be already established. They just have to be able to financially transfer the money to them. So that's one thing. The second piece of that, outside of the pilot and what we're trying to do forward, and that's a bit of the element around the boxes. How do we create these ways that youth can engage with opportunity, but not have it all the time at the door or right away? So if youth are interested in getting involved individually, the thought process is something like the box might get them in. There could be challenges around the community. Is there an idea that you wanted to develop? And it's a way to get them engaged. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can look at individual to individual. We've done some things around that at the lab. We had a group around in our last term that the co-op supported, where we had a group of young women who came in around Black History Month. The group was mainly young Black women, and they decided that they wanted to do a hair care event for their community. This wasn't a group we set up. They had kind of come in and started to hang out with us and said they wanted to run an idea. We had some base level funding. We talked through what that could look like. They planned, organized. Our co-op team went out, did the shopping, did the stuff, and they're in a hair care event for about 35 young women, talking about the different styles of hair, how to beautify them, and talking about issues around that. So we're trying to create these avenues all the time, and we think the box is actually the next step avenue. So if this challenge goes out next year, it could go out to multiple youth. And for one other element is the funding. So giving out large amounts of funding directly to somebody is a challenge. When we go through an organization, it's easier to support. So trying to math out if we had individuals doing it and if they were working on a project, what amount of funding could we give them? What could that look like? And what would that pitch process look like for them to be selected? But that is a project we are continually working on, and thank you very much for that. And that's an obvious challenge that we definitely want to continue to dig into and be as equitable as possible and get this to every youth that wants it, not just the youth that have access to it.
That's great info. So I would imagine you have a life cycle. Is that like yearly, like annually, or about 4 years?
Yeah, through the chair, this pilot is 1 year life cycle. So we've started it in the process of developing and going through. Our hope is by December, most of the projects have gone through, although I know some of them have plans, as long as they're planned and met. But most of the projects have come through. We can evaluate that and get in another cycle, start that next cycle a little bit earlier, where the promotion's happening for everybody, kind of around that January, February mark, and it's a little bit earlier. But that's definitely where we want to get to, yes.
Great, thank you.
I see your name here, Councillor Hunick, but I'm going to go to first speakers first, if that's okay. Councillor Shantz.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the beautiful colors. I don't know. I wouldn't put those colors together, but they look great together. I don't know if you coordinated it. This is a great project. My question is, and it's probably embedded in here. Did everyone who wanted to be part of it, were they all part of it, or did you have to actually select some? I noticed you didn't talk about Woolwich, and so I'm wondering if we missed if we missed something in the communication line.
Everyone did, which we have connected with. We've done work. I had a meeting up there kind of talking about some of this stuff as well. The big challenge for us is most of the time we're connecting with like localized organizations. I know from the early conversations, we did, one of the game shows we did was at the community center in Woolwich. Okay. And we've been they're really trying to redevelop and get that group up. So we've talked about this as even an option to do some promoting. Woolwich is a group that we've been working with fairly regularly. One of the murals is at the Elmira School, and they've been super great. For us, it's really just finding the groups like Wellesley and some others. We've had somebody we connected with on a project, and timing-wise, it just worked out. I think for some of the groups, so we reached out to all the regional municipalities, anybody we at Smart Waterloo Region had partnered with in the past, as well as the CYPT. The groups that responded back were the groups that, one, had time and availability, that's also for their staff, and can make that like work. So we still have that running room. I wanted in every regional municipality. I want one project in every, and it makes sense. If we're doing something for the whole region, there should be a vision of it everywhere in the region. So that's something that we could even discuss and look at. We are trying to figure out how many boxes are going to get taken up by the groups, and there will be an announcement of a couple spots of availability if youth have an idea and they're connected to somebody. So we'll definitely let you guys know on that. And even in a situation, if you want to get your group involved and we feel like there wasn't a window to do that, we can have a conversation. We do have some boxes around creating a small package, just to make sure that we're being as equitable as possible.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I or we didn't drop the ball somewhere along the line. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Hunick?
Thank you, Chair. I just realized that myself and many of the regional councillors cannot be at the pitch event because we're away at a training. This makes me very sad, and I want the youth to know that we'd rather be there, and we really care and want to be supportive. Is there a way that we can send out remarks to the winners, or like is there a virtual option?
Yes, we definitely could do that. We'd love the support of you guys, even just saying like, great work, and we're really proud of the work that's being done. So if that can happen, for sure. The beauty of our pitch event is it's a long day, about 30 pitches they're gonna go through. The judges there are only selecting 3. So those youth judges are gonna select 3 of the groups. That only takes a chunk of the funding. There'll be a larger amount of funding that actually, through the next week, we will be announcing. So if you want to be engaged in some of that, we could find a group that we can announce with, or maybe you guys could help us with a post to some of the other groups that we announced. We're really working on what that plan looks like to echo out that news in the following weeks after.
Okay, let us know, and we're sorry if we can't be there.
Oh, no. And we know how busy you guys are and what you're doing, so we appreciate that, and we appreciate wanting to be there as well. Thank you.
I don't see any other questions. Thank you for this great presentation. For council's information, it is for information purposes only. No action required. Thank you for being here and for what you're doing.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
You need your boxes back.
There's actually one council has a box that is yours, but so we're going to give it to Jenny and you guys will have it. So, somebody else.
On to 7.2.2, the Public Art Advisory Terms of Reference. Our recommendation is to approve the proposed terms of reference. And Julian Kingston, who is our new Director of Cultural Services, is here. So if any of you have not had a chance to meet him, like I have not in person, welcome. Do you want to make any comments to this report?
I could briefly. So I believe this has come once before, and it was asked to go back for some more consultation. So that's the meat of what's happened in between those two times. The updates for themselves, some of them are pretty self-explanatory. They're just bringing it in line with current policies on member recruitment, council member recruitment, and conflict of interest. The real addition is the piece in the vision statement that brings it into our current practice with reconciliation, equity and diversity and inclusion.
Councillor Foxton.
Thank you. And I read through it. The only thing I was concerned about, and it's not a major concern, it's very minor, but it's 10 members on it. And I asked Chair Redmond about it, and she said the recommendation was between 8 and 10. And because of the number of ties we've had at Regional Council, I was thinking maybe you should go with 9.
I think the language is up to 10, but that's a good point. I mean, the initiative around increasing the number of members was actually a step towards that diversity piece. So I believe in the old terms of reference, it was 8 community members, and now it's suggested to go to 10. I think there's 2 members of council on it as well. So we're still at 12, it's still an even number.
Councillor Deutschman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Herb. Yeah, Councillor Hunick and myself are members of the committee, and I just wanted to say a couple things. First off, I thought the committee members did an excellent job in terms of taking the time, and they really did take a lot of time to go through the terms of reference and update the terms of reference. There was a lot of debate and discussion, which I mostly observed, but was excellent in terms of looking at how to reword and bring the terms of reference up to date. And so I was really impressed with the work that they all did. So I don't know if you need a mover for this, so I'll move this. And Councillor Hunick would probably want to second it. Sister Chantel, thank you.
So moved by Councillor
Thank you.
Deutschman, seconded by Councillor Hunick, correct? Any other questions or comments? If you use your e-scribe buttons to please vote, which mine has just gone down. I'm in favor. And Councillor James, you're in favor? Okay, well, okay. That's carried. Number 8, council tracking list is for information purposes. Under other business, Councillor Liggett, you were going to make an inquiry about housing. Do you want to do that now or for another meeting?
Yes. No, I'll do it right now. So we recently purchased a property in Cambridge for the Southern Bypass. And I just want to say that when we do that, we have houses where families lived that are sitting empty at times. And the history on this house was that it was part of my family, my extended family, and it was built by a refugee to this country. And that person who built it brick by brick ended up with 6 children being raised in that house. And he also started a business in this community. So he's a major contributor to Canada when he came as a refugee. And in his business, he also hired a lot of other refugees, including what he used to call the boat people coming in from Cambodia and Vietnam, and gave them a start in life, as well as people coming from conflict in Europe. And I think that he would be extremely pleased to find out that while we're waiting for that Southern Bypass, we don't leave it empty. I'll board it up because it has been vandalized, and it's subject to expenses that we shouldn't be incurring. So I would like that particular property, as well as any other that we purchase, to be used for large families, whether they come as refugees or immigrants, anybody currently on the waiting list, that it be utilized so that it can continue its history of providing for families, in particular those in need.
Councillor Sweeney, or Commissioner Sweeney, you wish.
I'm going to leave that one there. I'm going to actually ask Ryan Pettipier, our Director of Housing, to maybe talk a little bit about how, when the region comes into possession of existing housing stock, how we approach that. I don't know, Ryan, if we have anything specific on the location that Councillor Liggett references, and if not, we can get that to you, but maybe we can do general and then specific if we can. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks, Peter, and thanks for bringing this forward, Councillor. I'm not aware of the specifics on this property. What I will say is we'd be happy to connect on it, learn a bit more about the details, and see what the options are. We have looked at other, what we call interim housing opportunities in the past, where properties of this nature have come forward, and make best use of them while we can for the need that's out there. Options that we would consider would be partnering with community agencies that might facilitate the operation if it's specific to certain populations, like newcomers to the community, for example, and we can either play a bridging role or offer housing directly. We need to understand the state of the housing, the timelines involved, insurance and risks, and all of those things, of course, but it's an opportunity we'd be excited to explore if I can be put in touch with the people on your side.
The house is in excellent shape, and it also has an industrial building at the back that was the beginning of the business. That's where it started there. It has 5 bedrooms, full basement, completely finished basement. It's just a waste sitting there, and I think it would just be a great story of history of that building.
Thank you. No other business. Our next meeting is June the 4th. I want to remind committee that this meeting was scheduled to begin at 2:30, and it is now just about 20 to 3, record time for this committee. Thank you.
I think we owe them.
Can I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Use your e-scribe button to indicate your support. And don't get enthused by the early ending, because we now have a special council meeting, and that is carried. Thank you.